one of our sorority sisters is missing, and Riley is very concerned about it, and we're kind of all getting caught up in the Christmas festivities. Our characters all did a performance at the frat house to calling out kind of what they do there and what they get up to there. And Chris recorded it and put it online, and at the end of it, Riley names her attacker. So then, yeah, shit starts to hit the fan. The text messages the girls are receiving are very threatening, very grotesque, and, um, like a stalker, but I think Chris kind of thinks it's just some frat boy kind of just threatening her and fooling around, and, um but Riley starts to take it seriously, and I think she notices things aren't right more than all of us. It's a reimagining of Black Christmas for this time, and for this generation.
I play Riley Stone in Black Christmas, and she's part of a foursome of friends. Um, and we see her start out as a different person to where she ends up because of past experiences. But she was a lot of fun to play. There was a lot to kind of examine and delve into with the character. The girls sing a song, something which Riley has trepidation about being a part of initially. And the idea is it's like a talent show. And they get up and they're supposed to sing this kind of Christmas number, but instead they have a different message they wish to share. And unbeknownst to Riley, it's actually been recorded on an iPhone, as everything is these days. And yeah, that resurfaces and creates a lot of problems for her.
One of the main reasons I was attracted to this project was because of the social comment it makes on the Me Too movement. And this film, even though we use entertainment as a way to educate, deals mainly with the theme of male power over women. And this is an issue that's still going on today. What I loved about this film was that Sophia decided to tackle this issue head on and use a horror film to explore this theme in a brilliant way. I don't think this story could have been directed by a man. There's no question about that.
My character is Jessie, and she's a very bubbly, happy-go-lucky part of the sorority and really enjoys her friendships with the girls and the other characters and is really excited about Christmas and creating joyful times, which soon becomes really treacherous. The girls fight back ferociously. I mean, just from an actor standpoint, to watch these women that have been cast go through the fight choreography, to put the emotional stakes. I have heard and I know that they have done an incredible job. And it's a beautiful thing to put stakes to something that is symbolic as feminism in this movie, and I'm so excited to see that. Sophia is so great. Our director, Sophia Takal, is just I've never worked with a director like her. She has a lot of trust in her actors. She knows what she wants. She has this sense of honesty and understanding in her writing and her own experience as an actress and also as a director. It's been a very cool experience and I've learned so much from her.
We got Sophia involved because we felt it was very important to have a woman write and direct the film. We felt that a woman's perspective on this story, particularly given the original film and the expectations of the film, it would be a really good idea to get that point of view. Jason had worked, and Blumhouse had worked with Sophia on a movie at Hulu and they had identified her as somebody who was incredibly talented, incredibly thoughtful, and just a terrific filmmaker. And so when he suggested her for this, I watched her movies and was like, this woman's brilliant, this woman's fantastic. The text messages are increasingly terrifying. They start out just pretty much, obnoxious text messages that you don't really take seriously. But then it starts to get more sinister when when the subject of the text messages becomes more intense and more threatening. The anonymity of the text messages is really scary because you're sort of looking around and you don't know who it's coming from, if it's coming, or what their intention is. And then at one point, the women realize that they're all getting these same text messages. When we meet the killer first, he feels like a typical slasher film killer. He's obviously pure evil, but there's no indication that there's anything else going on other than a crazed person, killing off women one by one. But as the story progresses, we see that there's something really off about this person, and that there are things that he's able to do and places he's able to be that defy the laws of physics and there's something going on at another level. It works on a horror level because it has terrifying moments and you're on the edge of your seat and you never know what's going to happen next. But it works on a thematic level because it's also tackling some very real issues about women on campus, about the men's responsibilities as well as women's responsibilities to challenge their expectations and challenge their beliefs in terms of how relationships are supposed to work.
The movie is relevant for today because there were a lot of movies in the 70s and 80s which were very sexist, like very violent towards women. And this is kind of looking at one of those movies through the prism of, first of all, a woman, and second of all, post Me Too. And one of the reasons I think the movie is a lot of fun and exciting is because it's the original movie really turned on its head. Black Christmas is about a group of sorority sisters who are being terrorized by a competing fraternity. But as the movie goes on, it turns out that the fraternity is more than just a bunch of evil guys. There's a lot more nefarious things going on within that fraternity. And it takes some incredibly smart, strong women to outwit and outsmart them, and eventually they do. I think Black Christmas upends expectations because the normal sort of horror movie that takes place in college for a long time has been like a bad guy killing women who are kind of defenseless and not very good at defending themselves. And this flips that on its head because the guys are still bad, but the girls aren't defenseless anymore.
Black Christmas is about a group of sorority women who, over winter break, realize that there's a killer on the loose and they have to work together to figure out who it is and fight for their survival. I'm a big fan of the original. I think for the time it was made, it was way ahead of its time in terms of dealing with issues about women. And so I wanted to make a movie that felt similarly contemporary about women's issues today. And kind of that was the big thing for me about remaking this movie, was how do I make a movie that feels the way Black Christmas felt in 1974 in 2019. It was really important for me to make a movie that addressed important issues like sexism and campus sexual politics, but also was really fun to watch and was filled with thrills and chills and could entertain an audience as much as make them think. When all the women decide to perform at this talent show at this frat house, they put on a sort of satirical version of Up on the Housetop that calls out frat boy rape culture, and it shocks everyone and upsets the frat boys quite a lot. The women in this movie fight back together, and they find and derive strength through one another, which I think was a really important thing for me in making this movie in 2019, because I think right now women are deriving a lot of strength from one another in real life too. They are refused to be just slaughtered one by one and realize that they're stronger together. And I think that differentiates it from a lot of slasher films in the past. Some of the things that I really wanted to translate into the film beyond just the themes of misogyny and the themes of, women being attacked for no reason, were the weapons that were used. In the original movie, there's like a plastic dry cleaning bag that's an iconic kill and a glass unicorn that's also an iconic kill. But what I wanted to do in this movie was turn that around and have the women wield those same weapons that in the original the bad guy used against them.
We've seen over and over the trope of the female victim sort of just running, falling, and then escaping, right? That's the sort of the formula that we've grown to see over and over. And I think what we really liked about this film is that it starts following a bit of the trope, right? Like women are being picked off. There is a final girl who's sort of attentive to it, that understands that things are wrong, and then you have her friends that are, a bit dismissive of her. Things kind of come together in this large massacre that happens in one large space, their sorority house. But I think what we really wanted to do that's interesting is there's another act after that. And that's when the women decide that they can't just run away, that they can't depend on the local authorities or someone else to take care of this for them. They need to band together and fight back. So it's a slasher film with agency. The fraternity represents sort of a mixture of contemporary fraternities. A lot of the reasons you're seeing them in the news is because there are accusations of assault, and there's this feeling of them sort of protecting themselves, and all the same things that you see in any frat, whether nefarious or not, which is drinking, partying, having girls over. But I also think that we take that and hybridize it with kind of skull and bones, old authority. This idea that there is a heritage, there a lineage that's incredibly important to them. And so as they see the world progressing and changing, they really want to dig their heels in and hold on to the sort of the history they've all come up appreciating. Imogen Poots plays Riley. She was our #1 choice from day one. We're a big fan of her performances in the past, especially on the independent circuit. And she brings something really interesting to Riley, which is that Riley, she's still carrying a pain from her, an assault that happened her freshman year of college. And it's established really early on that Riley lost her parents. But you understand that that's actually not something that anchors her down. That's a part of her past that she's addressed and moved forward on. But there's still this assault that happened that's holding her back in many ways. For a lot of the film, she's attentive. She's looking everywhere, trying to figure out not only who the killer is, but sort of what she should believe in. There are a lot of different sisters pulling her in different ways, a lot of different ideologies, and she's still trying to figure out, who am I and how do I get past this wound that I still carry with me? I love the working relationship with her. I think that she brings so much to the table, not just as a director that can get across horror and story, but great performances. To see her work with the actors and to see those final products on screen is an incredible experience.
The orphans dinner, it's kind of just that festive dinner for everyone who is still in the houses, for them to kind of come and have somewhere to eat. During this dinner, we start seeing a little bit more strange behavior in regards to Nate. And then basically what will happen is Nate sort of starts going crazy. He loses it a little bit. That's when we start seeing his aggressive side. No one really knows what's up. And then obviously we've had also a disappearance of one of the female characters. So things were a little bit on edge anyway. And then we have a little surprise killer come into the house and start getting at the girls. There's definitely a supernatural element to the killer. And as they get rid of one, they realize that there is more than one, which is what's probably most disorientating, is because they never know where he's coming from. But he's definitely attacking women in the sorority house.
Chris is the type of girl who is very not soft with her words, I guess. I was talking to one of the other actresses, and I was like, if people have some things that they're scared to express, those are the very things I think Chris is willing to say. So yeah, she's just sort of this girl that, you know, shoots, straight shooter, beelines most of her communication, and is really hot off the press with a lot of things. What's appealing is that you get to see these girls in a holistic sort of way. Their interests, their intellect, their politics, and yeah, their fight back is something that shouldn't be so surprising, I think. You know what I mean? Like, it should be obvious that women aren't sort of just taken out very easily and dragged away. It is a horror movie. It is heightened for a reason. And if you're down for the roller coaster ride, it'll definitely take you on one.
So at this talent show, which is thrown by a fraternity, a not so likable fraternity, the four main girls, the four main women get on stage and they perform a song in these Santa, like these sexy Santa Claus outfits. But the rub is that the song calls out rape culture in this house where that's sort of like an issue. And so they're sort of like, you know, screaming in the monster's face. And Landon watches it and is really excited by it because he thinks it's probably, knowing these guys and, you know, having to work for them, he probably thinks it was deserved and that they needed to hear something like that. I think to have had a male director would have just been, it would have been pointless. There are things when telling a woman's story that a man's not gonna get, or he's not gonna understand, he's not gonna be able to empathize with. And with Sophia, I think not only does she have that naturally because she is a woman, and so that she has insight on things that she doesn't have to think about. I think on top of that, she also has a clear idea and a clear vision of what she wants this film to be, what she wants people to take from this film. And it's clear on set when she's directing and trying to get the story made. And I think that's really, really important.
So, how does it feel to finally be unleashing this baby onto the world?
So excited. This is such a labor of love for us that we are so excited that it gets to be seen all over the world, I think. But it makes all of the blood, sweat, and tears that we put into it behind the screen and then also on the screen so worth it. Yeah.
Okay, we're talking blood. You're getting attacked on Christmas. What's your weapon of choice?
Candy cane. Yours too? I mean, it seems like it's appropriate for the season. It's also, I mean, I've actually cut my tongue on a candy cane before because I sharpened it too much and I was just like kind of playing around with it in my mouth. So I know it's dangerous. It can happen. So
absolutely. What was it like to get all of these women together, including your co-writer and the director of this film, as like a big sorority to make this thing happen?
I think it's a chance of a lifetime. A lot of the kind of sisterly stuff that you see on screen was happening behind the scenes too, and I hope that that kind of shines through for people, that they can kind of see this familial, like loving atmosphere that made this movie.
The love and the murder.
I know.
So much
love
fun.
and murder is everything. Those two go hand in hand, right? Yeah.
Thank you so much.
What is that like?
Oh, it's so exciting. I'm so excited to be a part of such a beautiful film. I mean, the process was incredible. Takal and Sophia are just paving the way for women in the film industry, and I'm so excited to be a part of it.
You ladies were down in New Zealand shooting together, and it seemed like you really formed your own little film.
Yeah, we did. I mean, everybody was incredibly dedicated to the craft and did an amazing job. We all had this unique experience together, and we're really excited to see, how it came out. So, yeah.
If you were attacked on Christmas, what would be your weapon of choice?
Oh, maybe a really sharp candy cane. Yeah, I don't know. That's the first thing that came to mind, or maybe Elf on the Shelf. Something like that. I hear
I hear it's all the rage, so we're like, ah!
Why was Black Christmas the right movie to make? Well, let's see. It was a time for kind of a new lens to put over Black Christmas. The original movie was a little sexist. I thought it was time to change that.
How exciting is it to be here to release it on the floor?
Very exciting. A big premiere of our little movie is always really fun.
If you were attacked on Christmas, what would be your weapon of choice?
If I was attacked on Christmas, my weapon of choice would be a very, very large candy cane.
How does it feel to be here?
It's really lovely. It's nice to finally share it with the audience, even though we just wrapped it, but it's great.
When you were done in New Zealand shooting, how did you guys form your own story?
Staying in very close quarters, and we did like a week prior to shooting with Sophia, with the director, when we kind of did exercises and things, which I guess you're supposed to do if you're a sociopath and you have no social skills. But it turns out we did, so we were absolutely fine. We had a really lovely time, and we were all in New Zealand together. We'd never been there before, so it was a really beautiful experience.
If you were attacked on Christmas, what would be your weapon of choice?
If I was to
If you were attacked on Christmas, what would be your weapon of choice?
Literally.
Apparently attitude is meant to work, but I don't necessarily believe that. So some sort of pepper spray or some sort of smell.
How does it feel to be here at the film?
Pretty crazy. I mean, it's my first big premiere, so I feel really lucky.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah.
It seems very obvious that you guys bonded when you were down in New Zealand shooting.
Yeah,
What was that
definitely.
like?
I mean, you're just thrown together in 2 months in the middle of nowhere in New Zealand. So, I mean, we only really had each other because there was no Wi-Fi and like, you know what I mean? So, and lots of night shoots. So, you know, we were all each other had. You know what I mean?
If you were attacked on Christmas, what would be your weapon of choice?
Oh, God. Maybe like a fire poker. Yeah. Yeah.
I love it. Congratulations.
Thanks.
This is your first premiere.
Yeah, it is. It's
That's
my first premiere. So hopefully more. Yeah.
Congratulations.